Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back again to Rebuild Reality. And today I wanted to address a number of questions I've been getting lately on, on some of the finer details about reality creation, manifestation, about kind of answering these things so things are clearer. And so let's get on it, right? So probably one of the bigger questions is, how long do I do it? How do I know when I've done enough? Do I need to do it for one day? Do I need to do it like a handful of times? Or do I need to do it nonstop? Should I be robotic affirmations? All these things, what angle? Like a little bit, or just once, or all the time, like constantly? And the truth is actually that both of them work. Now, of course, here, I am a big proponent of being like, claiming who you are, claiming that power, claiming that whole I am, because that's what we need to step into, is being like, yep, that's me, where you're just being able to go into it and you're like, yep, I'm going to have that. That's going to be mine because I said so. And that's it. You become the power, you're the power, which obviously is an amazing thing to be able to do, and where I want everyone to get at. But I also understand the human side of it, where there, is a lot of doubt, we're trying to build belief, we're trying to build trust, we're trying to, build faith in all of this stuff. So that's where repetition can come in handy, when you're trying to prove it to yourself. So, because how do we learn? We learn through repetition, just in general on a human level, that is how we learn. So, if you think about it, this is how Neville Goddard himself started. His whole thing, I think probably everybody knows about Neville Goddard and how he manifested his trip to Barbados. Well, he did it, I believe, for just over a month, where he was imagining it before it happened. So, because he came from a place where he wasn't, he's like, I don't know, this guy Abdullah is telling me and I trust him. So, but obviously it took him a lot, didn't it, that first time? Now, as he went along and he built his trust and he built his faith and his belief, well, he got faster and faster at it. Because again, in the 1940s, when he was in, obviously he'd gotten drafted into World War II, but he had a wife and he had a young daughter at the time. But here he is in, like, I don't think he ever went to war. I think he was still in boot camp, and he wanted to get a dishonorable discharge. And he went to his commanding officer. And of course, his commanding officer was like, you're one of my best guys. He's like, I'm not going to just give you a honorable discharge. Well, Neville did exactly the same thing he did with the whole Barbados thing. Was instead of going to sleep every night imagining himself and in his bed at his family home in Barbados, he went to sleep every night imagining himself in his bed and his apartment with his wife and child in New York. And he said he did it for 7 nights, and on the 8th day, as I recall, his commanding officer called him in again and said, do you still want that honorable discharge? And of course, Neville said yes. And his commanding officer admitted to him that entire time, that whole week, it had been bothering him, and he'd been thinking about it, he'd been arguing with himself, whether he should or shouldn't. Well, I can't do that. But then this thing came up where he was like, he felt like compelled to do it. Well, it just shows that it is working. Even though when we can't see it, these things are working behind the scenes. It is having an effect on the other people involved, on the situation involved. Things are being shifted. So that's why, if people need to build their faith, they need to build their trust, they need to prove it to themselves, and they want to do it through repetition, then I don't see anything wrong with that, because you got to get a leg up. So you don't, like, especially if you're in a place of where you're in a lot of despair. And I know a lot of people, certainly in SP situations, it's very emotional. There is a lot of, things to deal with there and stuff. And when a person feels like they're involved through repetition, it can work. Now, if you're doing repetition, then to me, it has to be a certain kind of repetition. And by that, I don't mean like a particular type, but how much. Because as consciousness, why does this work? Well, repetition works because wherever we focus and repeatedly focus as consciousness, well, you have to go that way because we're not a physical body, we're consciousness. And whatever you keep looking at, keep looking at, keep looking at, keep looking at will override, because you stop looking at the stuff you don't want anymore. And that's what people do. This is why we don't get our manifestations, our creations, is because we can't stop looking at the problem, what's wrong. We keep being the person who is trying to make it happen that still doesn't have it, and I'll probably do a whole video because there are so many little details about that. It's so fine that people don't realize that they're being that person, the one who still doesn't have it yet, the person who's still trying and efforting, But if you're like doing like the robotic affirmations, or you're doing this thing like, yep, all day long, yep, I'm there. Eventually you're gonna pull it around because you've changed your focus enough to finally pull yourself out of the hole. So it is true that both repetition, when you're doing it enough where you finally stop looking at the problem long enough to make it, to finally, kind of catapult yourself in that direction, then absolutely it can work. And that's why people do have success with robotic affirmations. Now, I'm not into people driving themselves crazy and stuff, but if you can keep looking at the positive instead of the negative, instead of the problem that you keep trying to fix, then you're there. So another thing that helps people is by doing small things, by experimenting, starting small. Instead of going, yep, I'm going to win the lottery, I'm a multi-millionaire. It's like, well, maybe. If you how about I found $5. Someone gave me $5. It appeared out of nowhere. I found it, whatever it is, or 5 or 10 or 20. Someone paid you back. Someone is going to buy you lunch. Something's going to happen. I intend something's going to happen where someone's just going to give me some money, or I'm just going to find some money, or however you want to do it, or someone's going to pay me back. Don't be specific. You don't have to be specific, and I totally had that work for me. I was staying at a friend's house one time, and I went for a walk, and I had to go down these little stairs on the way out of her place. And about a half hour later, and while I was gone, I was like, yeah, money. I came walking back up, and there's tons of people going up and down those stairs. Tons. Loads of people. Well, when I came back, right there, dead center in the middle of one of the steps, face up, it wasn't crumpled, it wasn't upside down, it wasn't turned to an angle or anything like that, was a $20 bill. Right there, as if it had just been perfectly placed for me. And it had been. So things can just happen like that, all the time and stuff. So what you're aware of, So now if, let's say it's an SP situation, and maybe you want an apology, well, maybe someone else is going to apologize to you. Maybe you're just gonna manifest an apology, just to show that you can manifest an apology from your ex if you need that, or maybe it's someone holding the door open for you. Somewhere is going to hold the door open for me. Maybe someone's going to start flirting with you on social media, or someone's going to start following you on social media and start commenting on your stuff, You know what I mean? So little steps, doing it in other ways to prove yourself. Ooh, I did do that. That did happen. I did get someone else interested in me, or, you know what I mean? Just like little things and stuff can really help build that confidence and stuff. So you just want to play with it, with these things, just do it super casually, just for fun, just I wonder what if, because that's one of the fastest ways to manifest out there, is if you're just couldn't care less about it. Any kind of seriousness gotta have makes things harder, makes things more difficult. So play with it, have fun with it, and you can get evidence that way. You can get proof that you are indeed having an effect on your outside world, having an effect on other people. And speaking of other people, and this obviously is probably basically in regards to SP situations, people need to know, well, that's you. That is you. Your SP is you, which is why they know how you feel. So if you are obsessed with them, if you are chasing them, if you are trying too hard, if you feel really insecure, if you don't feel good enough, they know it all. They feel it all. They feel how you feel about them. They feel how you feel about you. If you don't feel good enough for them, if you see them as better than you, well, they're going to see you the same way because they are you. So that is why you need to flip it as best you can, where, that's why we talk about, and so many people talk about self-concept, about having that confidence, about changing how you view yourself as being the one desired, as being the one, pursued, as being, the one on the pedestal. Because when you see yourself that way, they have to see you that way because they are you. Which is why we want to turn this around and all of this, So if you wouldn't choose you, why would they? That's why you want to be the person that you would want to be with. You would like to see yourself as that person, who has the kind of traits that you would like. So, start building yourself up, start changing yourself, start changing how you view about yourself. Because if they are you, then you need to be the prize. You need to be the most important one here. You need to be number one. No one's more important than you. So that's why a lot of people don't get that. It's like, yeah, they're going to know. They're going to know how you feel about them. They're going to know if you're pursuing them. They're going to feel it because they're going to feel it all. Everyone feels it because how could they not feel it? They are you, So, so that's something else to really think about that. And also about how that's why you don't want to also in 3D manipulate, control, post these things on social media or try to get your friends involved, with them bigging you up or something like that, because then you're controlling the situation. You're trying to manipulate things, and they're going to feel that control and manipulation and stuff. So backing off, because that's not where your real power is. Your real power doesn't lie in that outside world. Your real power lies in the turnaround from them to me. Who wouldn't want this? So you're turning the tables on the situation. So I hope that kind of helps that. Also, anything that you can be casual about, super fast. You get things super fast. Some of the fastest things I've ever gotten were the things I was the most couldn't care less about. Couldn't care less. I had no idea I was even asking for anything. I was just imagining something for fun. And I've told this story once before, but I'm going to tell it again because I know that there's lots of people that probably just didn't happen to see that one video. But one time when I was going around with my partner at the time, and we were driving around a car, and he was talking about having to go and see this guy where he was going to have to build this fence for him. It was like he wanted to get the job. This guy's like, we'll come over, we'll talk about it. And he was going to see if he would hire him to build this bespoke fence for him. So as he's going on and on, going, I don't know what it's going to be like. I hope it's going to be okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm just sitting there in the passenger seat, and I just went into a little daydream. I mean, for a minute or two maybe. And I was like, wouldn't that be really cool if they like got along? And like, wow, what if they became friends? And what if they started like, like working together? Like, I have no idea what the guy does, but I'm just like making up this fantasy. Oh yeah, they like get along really well. And then they start working together. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be really cool if he was like from, California, because I'm from California originally. Wouldn't it be really cool, like if he had connections and then maybe we became friends, and you know what I mean? I'm just a complete fantasy, just totally on the spot making it up, And then that was that. We went ahead and we had to run this errand, and then he dropped me off back at the house, and then he went to see this guy. An hour later, he comes back. Everything, and I mean every detail, to the T. First of all, he bursts in and says, guess what? Which is exactly what I had imagined him doing. Guess what? And I'm like, what? He's like, this guy is great. He's like, he told me that I reminded him of his best friend. Totally hit it off. And then he's also like, and you know what? I'm like, what? He's like, he works in the same field as I do. Because my partner at the time, he was building like fences and decking and doing waterfalls and fire pits and stuff like that. This guy was a horticulturist. So he did all the plants for gardens. But he was doing like these big, like expensive houses and mansions and stuff. And he was always being asked if he knew someone that would do the decking, that would do the fire pits and the waterfalls and stuff. Whereas my partner was always being asked if he knew someone that would do the plants and everything, would put all that in. And they looked at each other and they're like, oh my God, we really need to work together. So first of all, he comes in and he's like, oh my God. He's like, guess what? Second of all, they get along really well. Third, they're going to work together. And fourth, the last thing he said is, you know what? It's really funny, but that guy looked just like Brad Pitt to me. Boom! There was my Hollywood, California connection that I had imagined. Every single point. And even at the moment, I was like, I imagined all that for you. And he like took one look at me and he was like, did this funny look, and he's like, it stopped him for like a moment, but then he just like kept talking. And I'm like, there's just no point in trying to prove this to him that I created that whole thing. But it was because I didn't care. I could have cared less. It was just a momentary, imagination thing. Wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be nice? Totally casual, totally came true. Within like, an hour and a half or less than 2 hours, there it was right in front of me. So anything you can be casual about. That's why I was saying that if you can do these little things to prove things to yourself, do these little experiments and stuff, then because you don't care about them, you could care less. You can make up whatever it is that you want. It doesn't have to be something that what I've just mentioned. It can be casual, and that absolutely works. So we build new habits by repetition, by belief, by, like we're installing new ways of thinking, right? Because so many people are into such a negative way of thinking, always thinking the worst. Well, we're going to turn it around. We're going to now automatically think the best. Well, let's think the best of things. And your mind will automatically, when you do that, begin to look for evidence. Like, let's say you're like, you know what? My body loves everything that I eat. My body loves everything that I eat. Everything I eat is good for my body. My body really loves everything I eat. Every time I eat chocolate, I lose weight. Every single time I eat chocolate, I lose weight. Now, at first, your mind's going to be like, that's not true. But if you keep saying it, your mind's going to be like, it's going to start looking for evidence of it. And because you stay there and you're like, yep, that's what's happening, it does happen. Now, there's a couple of other things I want to let you guys know about. And one of them, and I think I've mentioned it before, is that when you start changing from like a negative to a positive, you start like, yes, I'm doing this, blah, 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 blah. All hell can break loose. stuff can absolutely go the opposite way. Why? Because you're changing. You just gave orders. You just gave orders that we are changing this whole thing, the whole set. This whole movie is changing. So all the set, all the set dressing here, all the actors stuff is going to be completely thrown up into the air sometimes and totally rearranged. So one, you want to see this as a very, very good sign. It shows you that things are moving, that things are being torn apart to be put back together again. You just have to hold tight and be like, okay, we're rocking and rolling here. So let's, I get this, but you want to assign a good meaning to it because it is a good meaning. This is a positive sign as much as it can kind of suck, just like see it all as a good sign. In fact, see everything as a good sign. Why? Because as we've spoken about before, life has no meaning, nothing. Everything that happens, it doesn't mean anything until we assign it meaning. And this is basically where most of our power is that we assign meaning to things. Oh, that was a terrible thing. Oh, that was a good thing. This was good. That was a bad thing. Which is why if you start taking every bad thing, and the worse the better, the more powerful the result. If you take something that was a terrible thing and you're like, that was one of the best things that ever happened, or that is proof positive that things are changing, that things are getting better, that I'm getting exactly what I want. Now, one example of turning a real negative into a positive that I'll give an example of something that happened to me and that I mentioned once before, but it was quite some time ago, was I had these stupid, ridiculously high heels on, and I had run to the car to try and get change for like a machine where you had to pay for like your parking, for like the parking there, when you're done, then you know how much, how long you've been there, and then you pay accordingly. So as I was running back with the change to give it to my partner, I don't know why, but it was all this cement that had, been poured, but there was these pockets of these little holes, and my heel went right into one of those holes. And because I was moving forward, trying to be quick to get back, but it stopped me dead when my heel went into that shoe. And it was one of these ones where I was tied in. It wasn't like my foot was going to slip out of it. I was tied into it. So it immediately stopped me, and I just went bam, straight down. There wasn't even time to put my hands up. It was just that fast. And there was some other guy that was near there, and my partner, and they just looked at me, and they were scared to death. They were scared to death. Neither of them would come close to me because they knew, holy, that was not good. And I knew, I'm like, oh my God, I've just broken my face, because I could just feel all this blood pouring out of my face. I didn't know if it was my mouth or whatever, I could just feel all this blood. And I'm like, I've just broken my face, my nose, my teeth, I don't know, something, because I hit with such force. I'm like, there's no way that's possible for, that this was something bad, I was sure of that. So I got up and I just kind of looked at myself, and right at that moment, I was like, oh my God, that was a miracle. That was a miracle. At the last moment, I was turned in such a way, and I felt like angels must have come in and turned me in such a way. Of all the possible angles I could have landed at, I landed at the one precise millimeter of an angle where nothing happened to me except for that I bit my lip really hard, and it like almost put like a little hole. I got like a scar to this day in my lower lip, and I got like basically like a concussion from it, but I didn't end up having to go to the hospital. But that was it. I should have absolutely, at the very least, broken some teeth off, and nothing happened. But because I immediately assigned it a good meaning. I've been saved. I have been saved. I have been saved by angels. Just then, I got saved. And that turned things around so powerfully for me that it didn't affect my face at all. And in fact, after that, for a week straight, I dreamed of angels, and I had never dreamed of them before because I had put that there. I had said, this is what happened. I put a good meaning to something that should have been a tragedy, and on the spot, I turned it around. So this is the power that we have, because there is no meaning to things. So the bigger the thing, the more that you are like, that is that is a wonderful thing, that is a fantastic thing, the more powerful it will have a result, like a boomerang effect in your life, that can change things like hugely. So just so you guys know, make everything a positive. See everything as a sign that it's working out. If it's bad, the worse the better. That means everything is just being, completely turned upside down, because it's all being changed for me. It's all being changed. If I just lost a bunch of money, that means a bunch of money, more money is coming in to replace it. If my SP just went insane, I know that they're going in. Now they're going to be going into the factory or whatever and coming out the new perfect version for me. Whatever it is, you assign it meaning. Everything. You get used to doing that, and boy, oh boy, you watch your life change really fast, So now, what is actually one of the signs that your manifestation, your reality creation is happening? Now, and I know a lot of people are like, there are no signs beforehand. And that was kind of like a Neville Goddard thing. But if we're assigning meaning to everything, then yeah, there absolutely can be signs. Because you're assigning everything. That means it's happening. That means it's happening. That means it's happening. But what else does it? What else is proof that it's happening? When you start to calm down. When you start to relax about something. When you start kind of, focusing more on your happiness, your own personal happiness, and becoming more into a peaceful place. That's when things are kind of settling down. So that is another way to know that it's working and stuff. So I hope these kind of explanations and kind of some tips and tricks for you guys are going to help you guys out. If there's a situation that you guys are confused about, that you are like, I don't know if it's this or if it's that or what have you, go ahead and write it in the comments down below. Let me know. And if I can, I will make a video addressing this, especially if it's something that I know that, lots of people are interested in as well. So let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you've had success doing a certain thing, fine. Let people know. Let people know what's worked for you as well. So if we kind of do an overview of this, so you can do things once and have them work. And we want to get into that place of that I am, that knowing I am, that I am, because you are it. There's nothing else here. You're the only one here. That's the truth of it. There is nobody else but you. And if you can get that through your head, well, you got it, because nothing's going to bother you from that moment on. But does repetition work? Yeah, repetition works to help us, get to that point. Trying to do small manifestations to build up confidence, to build up proof, to build up evidence, and all of these things also helps out. So take what's going to work for you, because this is your creation. This is your reality. Whatever's going to work for you belongs to you. So thanks you guys for being here with me on Rebuild Reality, and I look forward to seeing you here next time.